Well, here's a surprise that we didn't see coming this year because we saw it a whole 2 years ago. Elio has become Pixar's worst box office opening ever. It opened to $21 million in the US, and here's the kicker, across the rest of the world, $14 million. That's a $14 million total across every other country combined. On its opening weekend, it came third behind a movie that came out a week earlier, that being the monster hit How to Train Your Dragon remake, and 28 years later, which was shot on an iPhone and only cost $60 million. Elio came third, and it cost $150 million. Or another way to spin it, its international box office, excluding the US, represents less than 10% of its budget. Oof. Really, it's quite a tragic story. 2 years of unremarkable trailers with a big release delay in the middle has made for a box office disaster. And you could tell that they were worried when the TV spots were showing clips from other Pixar movies. That felt particularly desperate. And I'm not confident it's gonna have the legs that Elemental had either. Why? Well, because Elemental is just a way better movie. Word of mouth actually grew around that thing, and I'm just not sure that Elio has enough in its corner for that. It's about as middle of the road and forgettable as Pixar has ever done. And literally the only other people I've seen talking about this movie are people like me who technically get paid to talk about them, of our own volition. Even when I went to go see the cinema screening, there were pockets of other people. They were notably like Pixar superfans, which makes sense. It was like the first showing that was available on day one where I live. But even still, that was like 11 people, 5 packs of 2 people, and then me at the back. And the result of Elio is pretty disappointing, because I was hoping it would be one of those situations we've seen from Pixar before, where the trailers were underwhelming, but then the movie turned out fine. But nah, the trailers were pretty accurate this time. And ultimately, we knew that this was likely the case. The production delays on this screamed the likes of The Good Dinosaur, which is very much not what you want to be screaming. It doesn't hold up to any of Pixar's releases in the 2020s beyond Lightyear? Wow, what an accolade. I can now say it's better than 2 of my least favorite Pixar movies, so that's something. And I guess, in a time where Warner Brothers gives up halfway through a production for tax write-offs, you at least have to respect Pixar for at least trying to plow on with this movie. There's something to compliment there. But now we're facing a reality where Pixar's most successful and least successful movies came out within a year of each other. That's inconsistent. It's so strange going from hailing Pixar's success with Inside Out 2, and now this. Literally top and bottom of box office records. And the message that Disney might get from this worries me further. Within weeks of getting news of more original Pixar movies softening my concerns that Toy Story 5, Incredibles 3, and Coco 2 was a sign of Pixar's future, I'm now just worried again. Because this transition from a billion-dollar sequel to this original one opening so low leaves a narrative that now only Pixar sequels can actually make the big bucks. As much as I'm glad Elio didn't get shelved, you also have to acknowledge that Elio was a movie that needed to do better than this for Pixar's creative future. We need to see an original Pixar movie do well in order to secure their future. And Elio's failure to do so may very well be Pixar's Wish moment. By which I mean what Walt Disney Animation has been up to since the failure of Wish, i.e. sequels and basically nothing else. We just had Moana 2, and we're about to have Zootopia 2. Are there any original movies coming from them planned out? And that's why I worry for Pixar, because this could be their equivalent. Despite the movie not being as bad as Wish by any stretch, it's just neutral, and it just hasn't made any cultural impact as far as I can see. I just get an overriding sense that no one can be bothered to watch this film. The tropes in it are very well trodden, beyond this lonely kid being willingly abducted. We didn't really know a great deal about the movie's premise from the trailer, the alien characters seemed hollow, and I don't really know who this movie was for, or what it had to say that was of interest to the audience. Not to mention the fact that these are tightening times, so people aren't necessarily gonna spend so much on leisure like a cinema experience, especially if it's not up to par. Again, the marketing has done absolutely nothing to move the needle, and honestly, it's pretty much displaying the quality of the movie pretty well. And now that we've had this, we are likely about to see more Coco 2 type decisions. Hey there! Yes, you've made it to the halfway mark of this video. Come subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you. Bye-bye now. No, not bye-bye. We'll resume now. I'm talking Ratatouille 2, WALL-E 2, Up 2, you've heard the meme, and more wonderful decisions like that. Because that's where I kind of place the Coco 2 situation. A movie that just was on its own a one-off Pixar classic that in no way asked for a sequel. So who's to say that the others are really safe from a similar fate? And I really want to believe that the magical Pixar original is coming that will turn this narrative around and convince Disney that this studio has a future beyond a sequel machine. But what do we have coming? Hoppers? Oh boy, I don't know if that's going to be the movie that changes things either. As for Gatto, at least, I want to see it, but what if Disney just cancels the damn thing before we even get there? Like they did with the Tangled remake after Snow White earlier this year. Replaces it with Monsters Inc. 3 or something. I just hope that they recognize that Elio is a flawed movie that had many problems in the lead up to its release. Obviously, they changed the story halfway through development, and I'm pretty sure they switched out directors too. It was a mess on the production side. And its performance isn't necessarily a reflection on Pixar's non-franchise movies in general. As for these production problems, it wouldn't be any surprise to me if these weren't in some way linked to the workplace issues that were reported around Inside Out 2 last year. That of staff being overworked and unhappy at the studio, suggesting that the creative ethos of the studio had shifted from its earlier years. Part of this issue even suggested current Pixar boss Pete Docter, director of Monsters Inc., Up, and Inside Out, was trying to involve himself in everything, especially being a micromanager. Which, sure, you get a creative person running the company, he's gonna get his fingers in all of those pies. But you can see how that can be limiting for all the directors working for him, let alone all the notes spilling down to the animators from multiple heads at the top. It's hard to get a super clear picture of what's been happening behind Pixar's doors, but the narrative coming out is that it has been pretty dysfunctional as a production house. Elio was supposed to come out before Inside Out 2, but then the production issues led to them swapping, and presumably that's when the Inside Out 2 team ended up overworked and burnt out. So the impact of Elio on Pixar stretches far and wide onto Pixar as a company. Its production has led to behind the scenes issues on both its own team and another movies, and now its release is likely set to shape Pixar's output going forwards, and not for the best. This is different to The Good Dinosaur that stood out as a failure amongst successes. Despite Elemental overall doing okay box office wise, the narrative right now in the industry may well end up seeing Inside Out 2 as a success amongst failures in Pixar's cinematic efforts. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe things will pick up for Elio. It has over 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, somehow, so maybe things will get better. But I don't know. We have a big release in the form of the Formula 1 movie coming this weekend from the Top Gun Maverick team, and that is set to absolutely clobber the competition. Beyond that, families seem pretty content with the How to Train Your Dragon and Lilo and Stitch live-action remakes, so I'm not sure that Elio even has a place in the market right now. Particularly releasing it the week after How to Train Your Dragon came out. Like, what scheduling decision was that? Did they want this to fail? Because that's a killer slot with one of your own movies also still very much taking it in the form of Lilo and Stitch. I hope they haven't let this one failure push a sequel agenda, but hey, we've seen crazier. Because honestly, it still wouldn't have done that well in another slot, but I'm sure this element didn't help, to say the least. Wanna see remakes featuring iconic creature designs, or this new movie where the alien character designs are somewhat underwhelming? Like seriously, you're gonna peddle out alien designs like this when Lilo and Stitch is back on the scene? Maybe not a great decision with the release calendar. Even the dragons in How to Train Your Dragon show this up. Also kind of ironic that another animation studio's live-action remake, a trend very much started by Disney, just completely took out a Disney release on its second weekend. That's what I believe they call karma. But either way, what a decisive, tragic, very expected crash and burn, because Pixar's Elio is indeed a massive flop. And I don't think it's got the legs to pull an Elemental, but hey, maybe it will find an audience on Disney+. For now though, I'm going to end it off there. My name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do tell me your thoughts. Does it have any kind of potential for some sort of popularity in Encanto style or something? Or will it just be ignored when it's on Disney Plus too? I'd love to hear all of your thoughts and more, and I shall see you all in a little bit. Cheerio!